got one on the Hellraizer. The Hellraizer strikes. It's not a giant. This is a new bait by Z-Man, though. It's a really unique bait. It has a weighted tail, cause it to really be violent in the front of the bait in the water. It's a chopping action in the front of it. Got a little guy on it here this morning, but stay tuned. We're going to tell you more about the Hellraizer, how to fish it, how to rig it, how to catch fish on it. Hey guys, the Hellraizer by Z-Man is probably one of the most unique baits that's came out in a long time. You know, the design of it's different than any other topwater bait we've seen out there. It's a blade on the back of it with a weight, so it's going to vibrate, and it's almost like a chatterbait on the tail end of it. It actually causes the bait to sink. It is a topwater though, because you're tied on in the midsection of it here. So as soon as that bait hits the water, it goes down, but as soon as you start to pull, it rises to the top immediately, and it just works the surface like a billfish. This thing goes crazy. The faster you reel it, the more it's going to spray water side to side. So as far as techniques go and retrieves, there's not a lot of different things you can do with it. You can reel it at different speeds, of course, and get more or less action out of that bill, or you can surge it, sit there and speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down, getting it to spray more water. But it's always going to be a straight line bait that's going to be reeled across the surface. So again, very unique design, very unique action, something fish have not seen before, because it's something, there's nothing like it out there. 2 treble hooks on there, feathered trailer that has a lot of dancing action behind it. It's a bait that is going to play in a lot of situations when you're covering water, throwing top water, moving through a lot of water. Those fish that are up shallow, targeting shad, bluegill, whatever it is that are aggressive around those targets up shallow, a great bait for that. All right guys, now I'm going to take this bait out on the water. I'm going to show you how to use it. Oh, got him. Oh man, it looked a lot bigger, just annihilated the Hellraizer. Oh, look at that, smallmouth just absolutely came launching out of the water to destroy the Hellraizer. That was pretty cool right there. It's not the biggest fish in the lake, but that was fun. Out there, we're throwing it on a 15-pound fluorocarbon, medium heavy rod, like 7.2. And you're just winding along, and the thing has a really unique action. You know, it's almost a cross between a chatterbait and a topwater, in that the tail actually chatters on it. So this is back here chattering, causing the head to move. That little smallmouth couldn't resist it. You know, you can throw it on braid too. Lighter braid works, especially making really long casts. Sometimes that braid helps with your hookup ratios a long ways away. You don't know if they have it or not, but I personally feel like you land more on fluorocarbon. So that's what we're throwing today. We're gonna let this guy go and try to get us another one. You know, when it comes to fishing the Hellraizer, it's somewhat of a unique bait, but it still is a bait that you're throwing in a lot of the same places you'd throw a buzz bait or those kind of baits to topwater. That, you know, the biggest thing about it is the bait actually sinks. You throw it out and you want to start reeling it pretty fast. The bait, you can see it's tied in the middle of it, so it's going to sink. But as soon as you start reeling, it comes to the top really quick and starts going side to side. But here we're fishing the outside of these reeds, where these fish probably live, you know, in the day up in the reeds. But we're fishing around the outer edges of it, these low light conditions. Fish get out and wander a little bit. It gives you the opportunity to cover some water, whether it's in the fall and you're up around shad, or up and around these bluegill and stuff in the summer. You know, the same thing happens. Those fish just get looser to cover. You can throw it around the edges of it a lot more. It's a really simple bait to throw, and that you just cast it out and essentially hold your rod up and reel it back, and you can see at a distance the nose of that bait is slashing through the water almost like a billfish, and those fish will just track it down and eat it. It's a pretty simple bait, but fish in those areas adjacent to heavier cover, really important for largemouth. But you know, you catch smallmouth and spotted bass on points where they'll move up shallower. Those ambush places that they get up in the morning, these low light conditions, they'll get up in these ambush places, and you're trying to cover as many of them as you can when the conditions are right. It's not that it won't catch fish during high, slick, sunny conditions, but you know, of course, topwater excels in these lower light conditions. You know, my setup for throwing the Hellraizer here is a 7.2 Zodius medium heavy Shimano rod. I have it on 15-pound fluorocarbon. This is 15-pound Seaguar Tatsu. SLX DC reel. That DC helps with this much wind. You just don't get those overruns. And this 7-2 speed reel, you know, that's something that I'm not having to just wind the handle like crazy, and I still keep the bait up. And with this bait, you need to get it going pretty quick because it does sink. So when it hits the water, you want to engage it and get it to come to the top. And a little bit faster reel like that helps. You could probably get away with an even faster reel, but I surely wouldn't want to go slower. It's going to make it more challenging to fish. Kind of like throwing a buzz bait or something. You don't want a reel that's so slow you're just struggling to keep it on top. So that's my setup with it. You know, anything in that medium heavy action works great. You know, braid is something that a lot of guys like to throw topwater on, and making long casts with a bait like this that casts that far, sometimes that can help. You know when the fish has it or not. There's not that wondering and winding thinking, man, did it get it or not. Here it's up on top, so generally you feel them. I think you land them a little bit better on fluorocarbon just because there is more stretch. It's a little more forgiving, especially with smallmouth that fight pretty violently. But that's my setup, and it seems to work pretty good with the Hellraiser here this morning. That was pretty cool. This just came up and absolutely destroyed it. Largemouth, isn't it? It is a largemouth. The Hellraiser, that's a pretty fun bait to throw right there. The way they bite, it's so violent. That is a good time. If you guys want to get some of these Hellraisers, make sure check them out, tacklewarehouse.com for all the gear we're using, and of course the Z-Man Hellraizer.